The social season is upon us. We shall discover which young ladies might succeed at securing a match. Let it be known, if there's a scandal, I shall uncover it and share every last detail.
Including what you watch, when you want to watch, wherever you want!
Spoiler. Welcome to Cordkillers. As you heard, it's the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Wait, hold on. You're not excited, man.
No, because you stole my line, Brian.
Oh, sorry.
That's the only thing I get to do at the top of the show, and you took it
What I
from me.
mean to do, Tom, is steal everything about this show. Every last detail.
Well, Bryce still has a role, and that's to tell us, I'm stealing Brian's bit. What was that at the top of the show, Bryce? What
thanks,
were we watching?
Tom.
It sounded like a period piece.
Yeah, that is a teaser trailer for Netflix's upcoming Bridgerton TV series based on the book series by Julia Quinn. This is being developed by Shonda Rhimes and her Shondaland production company. It follows Regency High Society London, where an explosive new gossip column is spread, exposing many scandals. That's coming to Netflix December 25th. It's called Bridgerton. Christmas.
All right, before we bring in our guest, Andy Beach, I just want to make sure you and I are even now.
Spoiler
I
alert.
stole your
think
bit,
so.
you
I think
stole
we're
my
good,
bit,
yeah.
everything's even, right?
Right.
Okay,
Isn't
then
that
let's
how
bring
Hollywood
in Andy
works?
Beach.
Yeah. So good.
What should I steal?
You steal our love.
Yes, it's already stolen. Hey, Andy Beach, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's good. How are you guys doing today?
Good to have you back. If folks don't know, Andy Beach, you're a cord cutter?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Cut it probably not as long ago as I would think, but at least 3 or 4 years now.
And also you work in the video business in the technology that delivers the video to people. So thank you for that too.
You're very welcome.
We wouldn't be having our video appearing on our machines if it wasn't for Andy and his ilk. So on behalf of all your ilk, thank you. Let's move into the primary target. Ooh, a new player has entered the game, Brian.
I mean, look, not for nothing, but it's like, convince me on this, because I wasn't previously thinking, oh man, if only more players were in this game.
Right? Competition's always good, but we have competition. It's not like we're hurting for it. Here's the latest entrant in over-the-top streaming. That's what the folks call the ones that give you multi-channel or a cable replacement. T-Mobile launching a streaming service called T-Vision. Right now, it's only for T-Mobile postpaid customers. It will arrive now. It's here now. It launched November 1st. T-Vision comes in 3 tiers. For $40 a month, you get the major networks, broadcasting cable, the usual suspects, the ESPNs, the Bravos, etc. $50 a month plus tier adds a bunch more sports channels. So it's like ESPNU and maybe the Big Ten Network, stuff like that. And for $60 a month, you get the NFL Red Zone. That's the channel that will always show you the most important plays in football on Sundays. A few other channels get added in that package as well. These plans also include 100 hours of cloud DVR and up to 3 concurrent streams. Now, separately, you can add this on, or you can just subscribe to this. T-Vision offers a plan called Vibe for $10 a month that gives you 30 channels from AMC, Discovery, and Viacom. That package only gives you 2 concurrent streams, and DVR access costs extra. You have to pay $5 a month extra to DVR the Vibe channels. This is kind of like T-Vision has their own Philo. Remember, Philo gives you just the AMC, Discovery, etc. You can also add channels on just like you can with other services like Starz, Showtime, and Epic for their additional fees. T-Vision's available on Android, iOS, Android TV, Google TV, Apple TV, and Fire TV, as well as on a streaming device that you can buy from T-Mobile called the T-Vision Hub for $50 a month. I think that's T-Mobile's way of kind of easing people into it who don't already have Rokus or smart TVs. So, Brian, now that you know T-Vision, what do you think?
I think I'm really, really curious how all of this came to pass, because this sounds like somebody put an extraordinary amount of thought into what are the various pole positions that we want to occupy in the over-the-top networking space. What are all the licenses we want to secure? What are all the agreements we want to do? And then nobody bothered to really educate the folks whose job it is to explain all of this to the average consumer. Am I crazy here, Tom, Andy, either of you guys?
Yeah, Andy, how does this strike you?
Well, it's definitely a Me Too play. It's something that is not an early adopter. There's nothing new here. It's very similar to other services that are out there. It's pretty unexciting as it is very much a just something they can offer as an additional item for their existing customer base more than anything.
Yeah.
And it does kind of expose how complicated the licensing deals for TV are, because as you start trying to read into this, it just becomes more complicated the farther down you want to go. The fact that you can't DVR some of the channels unless it's an extra $10, that's tough.
I mean, they certainly have fancy labels for everything that you would like to have that isn't in the default service. And they certainly have figured out a way to make everything complicated with various tiers or whatever. And that probably all would have worked, 5-6 years ago. But for right now, it all feels like an also ran with a lot of labels for a lot of things that nobody wants to make these decisions on. Am I wrong, Tom?
Maybe. The way I presented it makes it sound complicated, right? Because I presented all the details. The way T-Mobile presents it, if they're trying to sell you on it, is all your favorite channels, no contracts, $40 a month. And that starts to sound compelling. Remember, what T-Mobile's going after are the people who have cable. It's saying, hey, person paying $100 or more a month for cable, wouldn't you like it to be cheaper? Well, guess what? We have all your favorite channels for cheaper. The other tiers come in when somebody goes, well, wait a minute, can I get, the Big Ten Network and all my regional sports channels? That's when T-Mobile goes, well, yeah, it's $50 a month, but still cheaper than your cable. And if someone is like a big NFL fan, they can offer them Red Zone. If someone says, I have to have BBC, well, that's when it does start to get complicated, where they have to say, well, we have a service called Vibe, and you can add it on, but there's some restrictions on that. But the major push here is $40 a month. And that sounds cheap compared to everybody else who is now selling these for $50, $70, $80 a month. And I think that's T-Mobile's marketing approach here. Detail-wise, it's better than Sling. There's not an orange and a blue package.
Right.
There's not limitations on DVR by channel. It's by package. And I thought that Vibe solution to the whole Viacom AMC stuff was pretty elegant. Instead of what you have to do with some services like Hulu, for instance, is you have to subscribe to Philo separately from Hulu. You got two different bills, two different places. T-Mobile basically built their own Philo and said, we'll just offer it and it'll all be on one bill.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like they possibly were just trying to compete with AT&T TV Now also? Like they wanted something that sort of positioned them there as another cell network that has it.
Well, and I think maybe that's my beef, is not that they're late, but they're just barely too late. Like if they were the third or even the fourth offering here in a world of TV Now, of YouTube offering cable services, of Hulu having an over-the-top service, of Sling TV and all these others, but it's like they're a fifth or sixth place, seventh place also ran. And you could still win if you come in at a dramatic discount, but I'm not really perceiving that. Maybe I'm missing something here.
Well, $40 makes it the cheapest one out there at the entry. And granted, you don't get everything, but it's cheaper than YouTube TV, which was the cheapest one and had built its audience. Also, we're not at market saturation. If most people had a service, I'd say maybe you're too late to the game. But there's going to be years. We have a story later about how many years it's going to take before people have really abandoned cable. So there are lots of folks to get in the tent right now. And a lot of those folks have a T-Mobile cell phone. And so they're ripe for the picking if you get in front of them. We think it's late because we've been following this for so long, right? But most people haven't switched over to these things.
Well, It's not so much late as crowded. What I fear is that it's too crowded, but I think you did a good job of reminding me, ultimately, what T-Mobile has is a fan base, a user base, and a bunch of emails that they can reach out to. They have a bunch of people who are on the cusp of getting ready to make that same leap that we've been talking about for 10 plus years, and they're able to say, hey, you already know us, you work with us, you've been a customer for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever. Why not take that leap that the whole world's getting ready to take? Take it with us. Here's something, slightly cheaper than everybody else.
Andy, are you a T-Mobile customer?
I'm not. But I guess if I were, I probably would be willing to give this a shot just to see if it was, interesting enough. I do agree that like we're probably not the audience for this because we tend to be early adopters in this space. And so, if my mother-in-law was a T-Mobile customer, she'd probably be into this because it would be a great, cheap solution for her to get her local news.
Maybe.
And I think that's one of the reasons I'm more favorable to it is I am a T-Mobile customer. So I look at it as like, oh, from the people I already get my cell service from. I think the other advantage it has is AT&T TV Now is great, but way too expensive. YouTube TV Now is great, but doesn't quite have all the channels. Hulu definitely doesn't have all the channels, and it's complicated because you have to dig into the Hulu interface to get it. So this is a good example of taking some of the advantages and saying, all right, it's a service just meant for this. You don't have to dig through other stuff. It's cheap, gives you a bunch of the channels. So here you go, have at it. And I think that as people grind through the options and go to suppose.tv and figure out like which one has my channels might give them a little bit of acceleration in addition to what you were talking about, Brian, which having that fan base.
Here's the question I want to toss out to you guys is there anybody who's lured into this particular offering who's not already in the T-Mobile ecosystem? Or is this specifically and exclusively meant to seduce people who are already paying a T-Mobile bill to like, hey man, go a little bit deeper, give up your cable bill?
Yeah, I mean, at the launch, it's only available for T-Mobile postpaid customers. You can't even be a prepaid customer and get it. So it's obviously targeted at them.
But
yeah,
like,
and I don't think it's going to get people
else?
to change over to T-Mobile just for this. So I think it's definitely for existing customers that are looking for easier service or a cheaper solution or something.
Listen, folks, we don't want you to change your cell phone provider. We just want you to give us money. You don't have to do anything to do that except give us money.
Man, Tom, I was thinking that earlier today. I was in the shower. I was washing my very long COVID hair, and I was thinking to myself, man, if only there was some way somebody could give us money. And
You're like,
raised
man,
my
I got to pay
fists.
for all this conditioner now with the long hair.
Yes, and then I thought, but there's no way. It's not possible unless Tom Merritt has some kind of like new idea. And then I kind of, I don't know, hit my fists against my head in a frustrated way. It was really gross.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing Patreon for like 6 years now, so it's not really new, but well, Patreon's the way people support the show.
Patreon, who I'm unfamiliar.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. It's a way to directly support the show. So there's no middleman. You cut that out. You just say, I value your content. I'm going to give you a little value back, just a couple bucks. And it makes sure that the show keeps going. That's how we're able to keep doing it.
I mean, look, man, I've got a 7-year-old daughter who I tell fairy tales to every single night, but you're looking me square in the eye and saying that it's possible to directly support Loud, Live, and independent networks who bring you the information to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever device you want.
Yeah. And if you look in your bank account, that money actually does show up there.
I mean, not for long. I have a 7-year-old daughter.
It doesn't stay there. Trust me.
Okay, good.
So we need more of you. That's the point. Please support us at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Man, the only way this gets any better is if you were to tell me that you had like your own RSS feed where you got early access to Spoilerin Time and After Talk and a bunch of patron-only exclusives.
I almost forgot. Yeah. If you support us directly, you get all that stuff that he just mentioned. Yeah, he's not making it up. Go type it in. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Give till it helps. Let's talk about how to watch. All right, we got a few different Netflix stories. I have Netflix stories served 4 ways today from our kitchen. The first, Netflix has reorganized its content division, And Daily Tech News Show hired Merrill Barr to explain what it would mean and how it will affect us. The short version is that Netflix used to be organized by genre and subdivided by budget and territory. Merrill wrote in his article, one exec would handle high budget dramas while another handled low budget sci-fi fantasy and another took charge of Canadian imports as another managed the Irish mysteries. Now the divisions will be more traditional with an exec in charge of drama, comedy, unscripted, etc., and with all the territories and budgets mixed together. Barr suggests this might lead to Netflix making more traditional television rather than what he calls expensive 10-hour movies.
So break that down for me. So in other words, rather than a bunch of siloed according to geography situations, we would have more meta, like, I mean, I certainly wouldn't blame Netflix for running their business like the biggest network on the planet, because, spoiler alert, that's exactly what they are. Is there anything that they have previously said that indicated that they wouldn't do this, or help me understand?
What Merrill's saying in the story here is, in the past, it was hard to tell who was in charge of what, and also everybody was in charge of a little fiefdom. And so you didn't have a high-level strategy. And so somebody who was like, I'm the person in charge of Irish mysteries would make lots of Irish mysteries, but they might not have the wider appeal. And so now you got a head of drama. You want to pitch a drama? You go to the head of drama. The head of drama now knows, like, all right, I've got a budget for this many dramas. I want to get dramas that get as many people watching as possible. I'm not going to narrow down the niche. And that's going to lead to more mainstream appeal situations rather than all of these narrowly focused ones.
Yeah, I suppose
that's how I understand it.
Yeah, no, that sounds. I follow you, but Andy, maybe you could chime in on this. Man, I would love to know what quote unquote traditional television means, because to me, and I think to a lot of Cordkillers listeners, we don't have good associations with that phrase. Anything traditional television.
I found this fascinating, and I love this article that Merrill wrote for you, Tom. It's a side of the business I never think about. I'm so focused on the tech side of it that it never occurs to me to think about how the content side of the deals are put together. But it totally makes sense that that is the direction they would go, because it is such a, I mean, they've made such a reputation off their global deals that I'm kind of shocked it didn't already work like this, and that they've been. So I'm curious to see where it goes in the future for bigger developments as it goes on.
Well, and I suppose also there's the breakdown of, like, traditional television. To me means 3-act breaks per 30-minute segment for commercials and all that stuff, and I don't know, I guess all of which is to reduce everything that I'm feeling to I'm scared. I'm scared that Netflix...
You don't like the word traditional.
Correct,
Like
correct.
If Merrill
Yes.
was writing this article for you,
yes,
he would not use those words, because he would know, well, Brian's going to think I mean this.
Correct.
What I think this means is you're going to get Ted Lasso, not Sense8. Ted Lasso is widely appealing. It's a traditional television show. It's well done. It's done differently, but it's something that you can explain to everybody. Sense8 is an example of, I think, what Netflix is moving away from, which is experimental. Few people really love it, but it's not as widely appealing. And maybe the OA is another example of that. We don't want prestige stuff that people find it hard to get into or just drags along because it's told too long. We're talking about just the opposite problem. You're saying, well, I don't want Netflix to become CBS. And I think what Merrill's saying is Netflix can now become HBO.
Ooh, that's a very good way to put it. So would it be a fair restatement to say that Netflix has enjoyed a lot of success by finding all of the tiny niches where they were able to grab very passionate individuals and kind of lump them all into the group, and they've become very successful because of it. And because of that, now they can afford to, I don't know, tell a story more like the Avengers or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, something that is designed to appeal to a 4-quadrant wider group of people.
I would argue that Netflix has become successful in spite of that. They're canceling things right and left because people aren't watching them. They're accused, if there's a criticism Netflix out there, it's Netflix doesn't have hits. It has lots of little things. And in the past, the idea was, well, if you got enough little things, people stick around because everybody has their personal hit. And I think what this says is Netflix is finding there aren't enough personal hits, that what really works for them, looking at the data, is Stranger Things, is something huge that everybody loves, and they need more of those.
Right.
A few other Netflix stories here. XDA developers found code in the Android app for Netflix that includes messages, save your data by turning off the video and listening to your favorite shows, as well as the video is off, but you can continue listening to your show while you are busy doing other things. This seems to indicate a potential feature that would let you listen to the audio of a show without the video playing. Right? You can just put it in your pocket now and listen to it, but this would turn off the video, which means it wouldn't use bandwidth, would actually be easier on your battery. This feature is not live. It might never be, but it's obviously something Netflix has been thinking about because they put a placeholder in the code for it.
We talked about this live on the show a while back, where we were talking about how good the visually impaired descriptions were of the show, and how, to me, like, it almost felt like an audiobook. Andy, have you ever experienced like Netflix listening to just the visual descriptions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I watch Netflix religiously while I row, which was my new COVID quarantine exercise habit I picked up. And I would love to be able to do it while I biked around as well, and that this would make that possible.
Yeah, and this wouldn't require you to have that assistive description on. This could just
Sure.
This would just work for regular audio as well.
Which I think for certain programming would be totally appropriate, but
it depends on the show.
Yeah, right.
Well, and a lot of my Netflix watching tends to be things I've seen before. I mean, some of it isn't, but there's a lot of rewatches that go on, and I don't need to see all of the visuals for that.
Netflix has also raised its prices for U.S. users. Standard plan, which includes 2 streams in HD, goes up $1 from $12.99 to $13.99. The premium plan, that's the one with 4 streams in 4K, goes up $2 from $15.99 to $17.99. It makes it one of the most expensive of its kind. The basic plan, which is a single non-HD stream, is not getting a price rise. That one's $8.99 a month. That one stays that way. Netflix last raised prices in the U.S. 22 months ago, and Netflix says it's raising the prices to, quote, continue to offer more variety of TV shows and films. That's become costlier as more services compete not just for you, the customer, but also for the shows. Netflix used to have their pick of everything that didn't make it on broadcast and cable. And now with Peacock and Disney Plus and HBO Max, that's harder for them to get than it used to be. So CEO Reed Hastings said in his last earnings call that Netflix wants to, quote, have so many hits that when you come to Netflix, you can just go from hit to hit to hit and never have to think about any of those other services.
Man, this is a really tough one, and I would kind of love to do a roundtable real quick, just rapid fire. Like, at what point, I'm not going to hold anybody to say, like, I would or would not have Netflix at this price. What is the eyebrow-raising amount that Netflix could charge that would really give you pause? Because for me, it's well over $20, given the fact, but then again, I've got a family of 5. So, there's a lot of kids I got to keep occupied and all that stuff. So for me, maybe $25 is where I bother to raise an eyebrow, given how useful it is to me. Andy, what about you?
20 feels like a big Rubicon for me. If it goes above 20, that becomes a harder number to, like, I feel like then up to 20 with the existing features, I feel okay. Above that, I want to see new features or new items that make it worth my while.
Tom?
It's hard for me to say because I'm going to keep Netflix no matter what because I do this show.
Of course.
Right? So I don't know what it's easy for me to say something and then not have to actually meet that directly because, I get some deducted from my
that's
taxes.
why I couched it as sort of an eyebrow-raising moment. Not that you wouldn't do it. I
agree with Andy that there's a psychological factor to $20 where I'm like, ooh, wow, now it's more than 20. Like $19.99, fine. 21 suddenly feels way more expensive.
And even at 21, though, the idea of walking away from Netflix feels difficult to me. Bryce, what about you?
And that's the other thing is it has to do with what they've got. If there's like, oh man, but I've got to watch this on Netflix, which is why they want to go hit to hit to hit. it raises that standard. Yeah, Bryce, what do you think?
Yeah, my gut also says $20 is a very questionable price, especially in a time where I'm not watching a lot of Netflix. There are a lot of other competitors out there, and I'm watching them. I'm watching a lot of YouTube right now, and I pay for YouTube Premium. Hulu, I don't watch a lot of. I'm spread out so thin now among all these different services where if I wasn't doing the show, I would take a hard look at how much are we really using Netflix? How much are we really using Hulu, HBO? Because I think they're very good services, and also I'm not watching them. It wouldn't be every month. It would be a sporadic on again, off again type of thing.
This is also a particularly good week for me to reflect on this question because I understand there's a value to paying money for a thing that you don't use, but you had the option of using. And every so often on Netflix, a story or a show comes up that just strikes you, Tiger King earlier this year and so on. And for me this week, it was The Queen's Gambit. Like I heard 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, and then suddenly I opened up Netflix and it was there. And I was very thankful that it was there. And all of a sudden, like even retroactively, I was glad that I had paid for however many months that I wasn't really watching.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to react negatively by word of mouth to, hey, we're raising the prices because we have more competition. But remember, this isn't Netflix saying we have more competition to keep you. This is Netflix saying the only way we keep you is with compelling content. And it's we need more money to be able to outbid everyone for that most compelling content.
Right.
That's the reason behind the reorganization as well. The last story on Netflix here, I brought in because I wanted Andy's thoughts on this. Netflix has on their blog a detailed description on how it prioritizes service when system failures happen. In other words, they want to try to keep the video you're watching streaming without interruption, even if the network connection is having issues. And system failures can mean all kinds of things from actual network outages out there on the internet, beyond Netflix's control, to software errors, and all kinds of other things. The blog explains that Netflix lets certain things fail first to reduce load. So the first things to go are things you'll never notice, like logs and background requests. Second would be interface elements that would affect your experience, but not your video playback. So the stop and pause markers, or language selection, viewing history, things that aren't essential to you having the video playing. They're prioritizing, let's make sure all the bits that give you the video keep coming. Andy, does this surprise you? Is their approach interesting to you as somebody who works in this? Or is this like, oh, Netflix is just pulling back on the curtain? That's something that we all know happens behind the scenes.
No, it's a great view into it. And first of all, let me just say that I love that blog and read it regularly. Both Netflix and Hulu's engineering teams have a Medium post that they use to regularly talk about how they function and the types of work that they're doing. And what you're seeing is that behind the scenes look at how you do this stuff at scale in a way that we normally don't get to look at it. So these are exactly the kinds of links that me and my work colleagues are constantly firing back and forth to each other and will spark debates. And this one actually did spark a debate where we talked about the pieces of it where there's value in letting something effectively fail fast, so that you can move on and keep the heartbeat or the pulse, which is the video and the audio, alive.
It's funny. I've noticed at times when there's been a little bit of a slowdown in the internet here, that the graphics that go along with the chiclets don't load, or all the text isn't loading. But then I'll press play and everything works fine. This kind of sheds some light on why that might happen. All right, folks, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
The first refugee from Quibi has found a home. Public Figures was a drama from rapper Lil Yachty, and it is now headed to HBO Max. The show, produced by and starring Yachty, follows the lives of aspiring influencers living in New York.
Man, the world has it out for me. Like, I really wanted to hate HBO Max, but they keep creating a more robust and high quality ecosystem for me to play in, even though they have a dumb, terrible name and they should never have named it that.
Andy, you going to be watching Public Figures?
If I do, it'll be the first Quibi show I've watched.
Well, it'll be on HBO Max by the time you
Perfect.
watch it. So, yeah, wouldn't even be Quibi. Netflix has signed a deal with Ubisoft for multiple shows based on the Assassin's Creed games. These include live action, animated, and anime adaptations.
So, how there's a difference between signing an agreement for an option and developing a thing, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. What kind of odds do you give in a world where we're still waiting for like the ultimate video game to television, video, movie, whatever adaptation? How optimistic are you guys for this?
No, this is going to happen. How optimistic am I that it's going to be good?
Yes.
Well, Netflix was pretty good with The Witcher, so I'll
Yeah,
give
but
it.
The Witcher was based on the books, not the game, and
Right?
yeah,
right.
right.
That's true.
I mean,
That's a good point.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Castlevania's great, and that's based off of some of the
Straight up
All right.
obscure
Yep,
games.
yep.
Good one. Yep.
Death
Yeah,
Note.
I
By the
was
way,
more
we saw-
excited about this before the Assassin's Creed movie, and that kind of spoiled all of this for me. So
True. They did make that
I
statement.
think Netflix has a good shot of cleansing our palates from that movie.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Trailer for Peacock's Saved by the Bell is out, showing Mark Paul Gosselaar and Tiffany Thiessen back as Zach Morris and Kelly Kapowski. And you also get to see Mario Lopez as AC Slater, call Elizabeth Berkley Lauren's Jesse Spano Mama. It's a nostalgia fest for those who watch Saved by the Bell. Mario Lopez even spins a chair around to sit in it backwards, and he gets called out by the younger cast member. The plot of the series is that Zach is now governor and has to consolidate schools for budget reasons, sending a bunch of students from less affluent schools into Bayside High. And his son Mac and Jesse's son Jamie attend Bayside, where Slater is the gym teacher, and new kids integrating into Bayside is the basic storyline.
Dude, I hope this becomes so popular that they figure out some reason to bring Mr. Belding back. And I'm not just saying that just because Mr. Belding and I both toured the college market at the same time.
Anyone for Screech? No? You don't care?
I'm told he's a fantastic rapper.
Is he in this? Is he
No,
going to be?
he's
in-
not.
No, I don't think
gotcha,
so.
Gotcha.
South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone have created a new live-action comedy called Sassy Justice. It is not about Sassy the horse. The show is instead about a fictional investigative reporter in Cheyenne, Wyoming, named Fred Sassy. But what they do is use deepfake tech to put characters either in the show or make characters look like real people. For instance, President Trump's face is used for Fred Sassy. A character who runs a dialysis clinic has Mark Zuckerberg's face. Other actors use the appearances of Al Gore. Al Gore appears in the show, quote unquote, as Al Gore, but it's an actor playing Al Gore, but the deepfake makes it Al Gore's face. Apparently Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner also make appearances. You can watch Sassy Justice on YouTube.
Man, Tom, this is one where I'd have to confess I lost the game. I got punched out in the seventh round. I understand that what they're doing is extraordinarily smart. It's extraordinarily funny. It's extraordinarily next level satire. Unfortunately, I couldn't recognize, outside of Mark Zuckerberg, I didn't even recognize Donald Trump's face being used as the main character.
I've seen this clip a lot, and I didn't realize that Fred Sassy got Trump's face on it. I thought Tom
Thank you. Okay,
miswrote
good.
this.
I feel better about myself as a human being because I felt like clearly the problem is with me that I'm not getting this. But meanwhile, the idea is brilliant. But it's like it was double black diamond skiing difficulty and I guess when it comes to comedy and satire, I need the bunny slopes.
The deepfake technology there, Brian.
Yeah, I guess so, especially because they have maybe what it was is that Fred Sassy is not acting anything close to Donald Trump in terms of the character,
his voice. Right? Yeah, no, it's just his face, right?
Yeah. Now that you said it, I see it, and I feel dumb. Yeah, doggone it.
It's It's interesting. Andy, did you get a chance to take a look at it?
I haven't, but I totally will.
Okay. All right. Let us know. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Finally, Why the Last Man has shifted its cast around ahead of production actually beginning on the show. Olivia Thirlby has replaced Imogen Poots as Hero Brown. Ashley Romans is taking over the role of Agent 355 from Lashana Lynch. And Paul Gross is replacing Timothy Hutton as the President of the United States. It is expected to premiere through FX on Hulu sometime next year.
Too precious, too close, can't really comment. Like all I could do is, as a fan, somebody who deeply loved Why the Last Man, all I could do is step back and watch and say, please be good. And maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't.
Come on. What do you think of these castings?
I don't know who any of these people are.
That's fair. Andy, what about you?
I think it could actually be pretty good. And FX has had a pretty good like all of the, by and large, the productions they have done have been things I've enjoyed. So
Legion was an FX joint, right?
Yep.
And yeah. So whatever, just be good, please.
We have been covering the development of Why the Last Man into a television show for the entire run of Cordkillers, so I don't know what we'll do once it finally
Actually, we've been covering its conversion into a television show all the way since back we were talking about rumors about it being a movie. And before that, we were talking about how much we like Why the Last Man.
Show. I forgot. Yeah. That's true. A few other notes. Trailers out for season 4 of The Crown. If you want to see a little more of Gillian Anderson as Maggie Thatcher or Princess Diana, The Crown season 4 arrives November 15th on Netflix. American Gods season 3 is set to premiere January 10th on Starz. Neil Gaiman even wrote a letter saying, "No, I swear, it's really good now." Wanting you to get back on that train. Narcos Mexico has been renewed for season 3 at Netflix. Ted Lasso is officially approved for a 3rd season on Apple TV Plus. Peacock has canceled Brave New World. It will not get a 2nd season. Apple signed up Jon Stewart to host a current affairs show that'll be a 1-hour single issue episode series. There will also be a companion podcast for that. And Netflix is working on a Vince McMahon documentary with WWE.
Holy cow, what a buffet. True facts time, Tom. How far into American Gods did you stay on the train?
First season. I made it all the way through the first season. I think I watched the first episode of the 2nd season and have not continued.
Is there anything about this launch of the 3rd season that makes you feel like you want to get back on board?
No, because I feel like I want to go through the 2nd season.
Right.
And then I feel like I've got other things I want to watch.
What about you, Andy?
I'm the same way. I think I made it through the first episode of season 2 and then I bailed, and I don't know if I want to go back. Maybe if Neil Gaiman comes over and watches it with me, I'll think about it.
You hear that, Neil Gaiman?
I'm just saying, you got a chance.
I mean, don't dare the man. Look, you say his name aloud, he shows up. I mean, that's the way it works.
Don't say it 3 times. He'll be there. Maybe I should just start season 3. Maybe I should just skip season 2. I don't know.
I suspect that's the only way you'll watch it.
Yeah, probably. Well, let's talk about things we actually have watched in Eyes On, starting with you, Andy Beach. What have you had your eyes on these days?
So this weekend, I let me preface this by saying I have a 10-year-old daughter. She watches TV on probably an 18 or 19-year-old level. She has been introducing us to a lot of new things. A lot of the back catalog we've been watching is come from her. Things like Legend of Korra and Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts. But this weekend, she sat my wife and I down to watch Melanie Martinez K through 12 on YouTube.
Okay, what was her pitch for
away.
this? Like at some point, like when my kid tries to get me to sit down, it's not for nothing. It's not just because they want me to watch. like they have to land the pitch.
So she described it as sort of like music videos with a lot of story, which is absolutely true. And that it was her style, and I would have to say that style is sort of what probably gets called pink goth. It's sort of that the emo goth, but in a sort of fancy, almost Victorian way, maybe.
It's kind of like Dickinson in that.
Yeah, kind of like that, and this is Melanie Martinez is who I literally did not know existed before this week. Before this weekend even, wrote and directed this. I mean, this is basically her production that she put out there. and it was great. It was fantastic, and it was one of those things where I said, okay, I'll give it 10 minutes and we'll see what we think. And 45 minutes later, I was still sitting there and I had to go do something else, but we bookmarked it and we came back to it later because it was legitimately a lot of fun to watch.
All right, K through 12. It's called K through K-12, right?
Yep.
If you're looking around for it, and it's on YouTube, so easy to find.
Yeah, it's right there on YouTube.
All right, Brian, what about you?
Man, I had that embarrassing moment of somebody somewhere suggested a thing to me, and it got me thinking about chess. And so I started playing chess with my friend. And then my friend who I was talking about with chess, and we were playing chess, I was like, hey, man, I finally watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix. It's about chess. I think you'll like it a lot. You should watch it. And then my friend said, yeah, we were talking about that 5 days ago. It's why we started playing chess again. And I said, yeah, what you're saying is I'm right. Like, and I don't know how common that experience is, but it's deeply embarrassing and I always hate it. But I went through that this week, and The Queen's Gambit is quite good.
Excellent. Yeah, it keeps getting presented in front of me and I keep hearing great things about it. So we should probably dive in at some point.
It is kind of fun. Like the chess, as you would imagine, like it's really the story of a girl who loses her mother at a young age, goes to an orphanage, finds a new home, turns out to be a chess prodigy, and human things happen after that. Chess is, of course, the MacGuffin, and many things are couched within the world of chess. But as somebody who played chess and was president of the chess club, by the way, in high school, which, by the way, day one of chess club, the guy said, hey, by the way, when you all do your college resumes, you're all president of the chess club. But it's a lot of fun to catch in the corner of your eye. Like they're not messing around with the chess stuff. Like that's a realistic end game, beginning game, mid game, opening, all that stuff. It's quite good. I like it a lot.
I have finally completed season 1 of Schitt's Creek, the CBC Emmy award-winning series that is on Pop here in the U.S. and Netflix has all the seasons now. And so I am at the point that everyone says you'll watch season 1, you may or may not like it, you'll think it's kind of funny maybe, but you keep going and you will adore it. So I am at the end of season 1 going, I guess I can kind of see what people are talking about. I'm starting to care about a couple of the characters. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's amusing and I'll keep watching. And so I'm looking forward to that moment that supposedly will happen where I will go, oh, I get it now. I love it, which happened to me with Parks and Rec, right? So I know it can happen. I'm just, that's where I am.
By the way, you and I caught up, like I'm a couple episodes behind you.
Oh, you've been watching it too?
Bonnie crossed over that hump and loved everything. Watched it like threw me in the background and went running off into the sunset and watched all of Schitt's Creek. I never got over that hump myself. So Tom, you will be my guard dog here.
Yes, I will take the lantern from here, and I will carry us.
Bryce,
forward.
you will vouch that there is a promised land.
I would co-sign that for sure. That season 2 is when you start to kind of get in the groove with it. I don't think it's as much of a big change with Parks and Rec, where you lose the Mark character and Leslie Knope has been kind of retooled as a character. I think it's a little more gradual than that. It's not a pivot of the show. It's just you emotionally grow to care about the characters a little bit more as they kind of open up and become more vulnerable as their life has
they move from cartoons to humans.
Yeah. Andy, what did you think?
So I've seen it all. They definitely, I think season 2, they become more sympathetic. And I think overall the show, I mean, one of the fun things I liked about it was it was a great example of like adult siblings, like you really buy them, the two as siblings, and that was kind of fun to watch. And yeah, I think you're in there somewhere, Tom. You're gonna hit that hump soon enough.
All right. I will report back once we have forged ahead. Meanwhile, what should we be on the lookout for, Bryce?
Hey, we got a pick from Nez that I think Brian actually ended up picking up on. They wrote, Killers, thank you for the superb show. Check out this nature documentary, My Octopus Teacher, on Netflix. I remember when I was a kid, I enjoyed the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. My favorite episode was the very bittersweet one about 2 sea lions, Pepito and Cristoval. Octopus Teacher is similar to that Cousteau episode. Nez, Brian, What did you think? You ended up seeing this and were a little confused. You thought I recommended this to you.
For the life of me, I can't remember who suggested it, but
it might be this emailer. This email is from about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe so. But the conceit is very, very simple. It's a guy in South Africa who was a videographer, filmographer, and sort of was taking a break from the biz, and then started swimming in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of South Africa, and noticed a octopus. Decided every day to keep going back and check on it. This is somebody who's a sort of a free diver where you hold your breath instead of having a full scuba thing, and discovered a level of intimacy between him and the octopus where he started documenting everything. Spoiler alert, octopuses live 1 year. Okay,
Not a long
I think
time.
I've said everything. So you can kind of guess the nature of the story, but I ended up watching it a couple nights ago, and I'm actively trying to seduce my wife and kids to watch it again with me. Like it's a second lap movie for me, and the story is very, very simple. Dude goes out in his backyard, swims, looks at a octopus. Octopus things happen. I like it quite a bit. It's visually really a treat.
Cool. That's called My Octopus Teacher. That's streaming now. It's a feature-length documentary streaming now on Netflix. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com.
It is time to vote Rogue.
Oh, man. I heard vote and I tuned out, and then I heard Rogue and I tuned right back in. Of course, what you're talking about, Tom, is that the fine folks over at doghousesystems.com/rogue have provided all of the hardware that powers this show and so many other things here at Diamond Club Studios. Do us a favor. Head on over to doghousesystems.com/rogue. Use promo code ROGUE. That's ROGUE at checkout. You get yourself an SSD as a bonus, but most importantly, you'll be helping us pay off our debts.
Yay! Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
A woman named Amanda Caudle has sued Amazon on behalf of California residents for unfair competition and false advertising because she claims the company secretly reserves the right to end your access to digital movies and TV shows that you buy from Amazon Prime Video. Amazon filed a response to the suit Monday, requesting a dismissal of the complaint, arguing that, well, on legal basis, she hasn't been injured. Amazon wrote, the complaint points vaguely to online commentary about this alleged potential harm, but does not identify any Prime Video purchases unavailable to the plaintiff herself. In fact, all of the Prime Video content that the plaintiff has ever purchased remains available. They go on to point out that she's bought like 11 or 12 videos since she filed the suit, and they're all still available. Amazon also contends this isn't a secret thing, since the terms of service expressly state that purchasers obtain only a limited license to view video content, and that purchased content may become unavailable due to provider license restrictions or other reasons. So if you ever wondered if you owned your content from Amazon, no, you don't. You have a limited license to it.
I mean, that seems fair enough. I mean, it's not like it's part of the implicit agreement when I go to Expose Gentlemen's Club that I'll always be able to see Sapphire. It turns out they could refuse me at the door. Not that that's happened, and not that I'm upset about it.
A very relatable example, sure, yeah.
Signups for Peacock, speaking of which, passed all NBC's internal metrics for success, reaching 22 million. It did not say how many of those were paying and how many of them were getting it for free through their cable subscription or through the ad-supported tier. NBC also said the number of active monthly subscribers and users and engagement have exceeded their initial forecast, but did not give details. Yellowstone and Mr. Mercedes were cited as acquisitions doing well on Peacock. Comcast also said there were 1 million active users of Flex, the streaming TV set-top box bundled with Comcast cable internet.
And Andy, I know we were talking in the doc here that they did this without the Olympics. The Olympics was supposed to be the big thing to drive Peacock numbers.
Yeah, I think until the Olympics happen, we're not really going to know whether Peacock is going to be successful or not, because that's its make or break. So it has another year now to sort of play this out.
I mean, on the one hand, they did better than expected not having the Olympics. On the other hand, they had COVID with a bunch of people locked in looking for things to watch.
Tom, I know that you personally are a fan of the Olympics, and I'm asking you as a friend, kind of as a side jag here. I'm assuming that we've not heard from the Olympics what they're going to do, or like we just scooting it back.
They're having them next year.
Oh, they are. Okay, good.
Yeah, they intend to hold them next year. Whether that'll happen or not, that's anybody's guess. But that's the intention now, is to hold them next summer in Tokyo. Also, I mean, I think it also proves that NBC having a free ad-supported tier was a really smart move.
Yep.
CNBC reported last week that experts estimate 25 million households will cut the cord over the next 5 years. Nielsen estimates 25% of TV viewing is now streaming, while Samsung says that number is 50% on its smart TVs. Protocol's Janko Redkers pulls together quotes from multiple executives who believe that subscription services are overinvested. Been saying this for a long time. It's going to shake out. Not all of them will survive. And that ad-supported video has a bad rap, but that might change. Low-rated cable channels are either already winding down or will soon. So you're going to start seeing stations go out of business. Some of those smaller networks going to go out of business. It all seems to point toward the decline of channels on cable TV, a shakeout in streaming services, and an opportunity for ad-supported video.
So this is pure speculation on my part, but Andy and Tom, what do you think accounts for the difference between 25% and 50% based on Nielsen versus Samsung? Is it a case possibly where Samsung with their smart TVs is able to say this is how much we see from streaming, and maybe Nielsen with its listening to what people are watching thing can't really tell whether or not it's being over cable or live streamed, or are both of them just wrong?
So this is definitely an area where I'm not an expert, so I'll qualify with that. But I do believe that Samsung is using some tech to do frame sampling, whereas Nielsen is much more around estimating and interviews with people. So it's a little more of a guess, and there's less data behind it. So that may explain the difference in the numbers.
I assumed when I read this that it was selection bias. Nielsen is covering everyone, whether you're into technology or not. Somebody who owns a Samsung Smart TV, much more likely to be into technology and therefore much more likely to stream their
Right.
TV.
And of course, Samsung can only speak to what Samsung TVs are showing and how they're showing it. Yep. Nope. I think you're 100% right. Nikkei Asia sources say that Sony is on the final round of negotiations to buy Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll, owned by AT&T, has 70 million free subscribers and 3 million subscribers. Sony acquired anime streamer Funimation in 2017. Man, I'll tell you what, dude, and again, I'm biased on this because I have a 16-year-old daughter who loves anime. Anime, bigger deal now than when I was 16.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart. Sony doesn't really have a streaming arm, honestly. I mean, they got rid of Crackle. They do have Funimation. So becoming the dominant anime provider might be smart. It would mean that you're not going to have Crunchyroll stuff automatically on HBO Max, although that could be part of the negotiation here.
Yeah, I think that's probably how something like this will play out. I think AT&T and Warner are looking for ways to reduce their overall debt, so they are looking at deals like this. But I think they're also going to look at ways that they can keep some access to the content. So it'll be for interesting business negotiations.
A couple other notes here. The Apple TV app is going to arrive on Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X November 10th. That's the same day that the X and S series Xboxes launch. The new Xboxes will also have Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Spotify, YouTube, HBO Max, Peacock, YouTube TV, Vudu, and Twitch.
Heck yeah, dude. More apps on more devices. Everyone get promiscuous.
Promiscuous box. You stream what I want.
AMC Networks estimates it will have 5.5 million streaming subscribers by the end of the year across AMC Plus, Acorn TV, Shudder, Sundance Now, UMC, and IFC Films Unlimited. Congrats, AMC.
Yeah, AMC Networks, not AMC Theaters, which is having a much harder time.
Worst time.
All right, let's get to the dispatches from the front. Daniel in Seattle writes, I just wanted to let you know that I took your suggestion and watched the first episode of Ted Lasso Sunday evening after reactivating my Apple TV account. 10 episodes later, it's now 2 a.m. and it was all time well spent. I'll just reinforce the rhetoric that Ted Lasso is worth the time and the money.
Yeah, dude, if anybody was getting ready to write an article about how Cordkillers is in the pocket of big Ted Lasso, yes, we are.
Yeah.
And we have been,
happily.
and we
It's been
are
comfy,
forever.
Yeah.
We also got an email from David that says, "Hey, Brian and Tom, I'm a Patreon supporter and love your show since the frame rate days. Apparently, there's going to be a big boxing fight on Saturday, and my friend asked me to help him set it up because it's no longer being offered from his cable service, Spectrum in Los Angeles. You have to download, install, and purchase the pay-per-view package from the Showtime app on your smart TV. My friend has a smart TV, but it's only been used with cable subscription. The TV is not even connected to the internet." And he asks, he said, this is interesting, and he's curious why this is done. His guess is that Showtime gets a higher percentage of revenue because they don't have to split it with the cable provider, as this is an over-the-top service, and wanted to get our thoughts on that. I actually didn't have a strong take on this as an outsider, but I thought, Tom, you might have an idea whether or not there was something to this idea.
I don't know for sure why, but that would make sense, is that Showtime can keep a little more of the money by doing a direct deal and not having to cut in the cable companies. It also would benefit Showtime to get people on the app, because if you get comfortable with the app and you switch away from cable, you're more likely to keep Showtime, and because you're used to watching it digitally. So that might be another way. But my guess is you're right. It's probably mostly about control and having a direct relationship.
It does feel a little bit like the echoes of not being able to buy an Audible purchase through the Apple Store in order to save yourself 30%, tell people to go to the website, that kind of thing.
That's a whole different situation, though. Spectrum's not gatekeeping your purchase. Although I get what you're saying, like Apple wants to take a cut. My guess is it's more just about the relationship and saying, I don't want to rent a stall in the mall. I want to set up my own independent store outside the mall.
By the way, if you want a little universe story, why you may be right is when we give away something for free on the Scam Stuff store, scamstuff.com, what we usually do is we don't just send a link to everybody who signs up to get it for free. Instead, what we do is we set the price to $0 because we want people to sort of rehearse going through checkout, even though there's no credit card involved or whatever. Like once you have gone through the process of checkout from a store called Scam Stuff, you feel a little more comfortable the next time. And all of that would make sense to me.
Well, Andy Beach, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a pleasure to have you. I wish we could keep you for twice as long, but please come back soon.
No, absolutely. I love it every time you guys have me on, so I appreciate it.
If folks want to find out more about what you've got going on, like your books and stuff, what should they do?
Easiest way to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Andy Beach, and it'll be random photos of my family, cocktails, and occasionally some video technology.
Yeah, especially if you're into video technology or learning about video technology, you'll want to check that out. Twitter.com/Andy Beach. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, also on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you again next time.
Hey, Tom Merritt.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Know who I love even more than my own children?
Your other children?
No, not my wife. I know what you're saying. I love our $5 patrons. These are the people that keep us loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much, $5 patrons.
You know what? I love them more than not life itself, because then I'd be dead and I couldn't appreciate them, but really, really, really close. And I'm so thankful that they are here to make this show happen.
Thank you so much to all of our $5 a month patrons. You guys are wizards. You're champions.
Thank you, everyone.
You're heroes.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.